Hey guys, welcome to Medium to Large. I'm Meka, and this is where we talk big. Big feelings, big shifts, big truths. We used to whisper, no longer. So if you've outgrown small talk and small versions of yourself, you're in the right place. Pull up a seat and let's stretch it out. My guest today is my lovely husband, Mark. Hi, Mark.
Hello,
Mark, would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Mark. I'm been married to this lovely host for coming up on 21 years, and we've got a
21.
beautiful family. We got a beautiful family. We got three girls, and just going through life right now and figuring stuff out and how to get to the next level, elevate.
Elevate, elevate, elevate. What did love look like in your household growing up?
It was two different types of love. So my dad was more providing. So that was his love, was always making sure we had the stuff that we needed: cars, insurance, clothing, and a house. And so we always had those things. That's what my dad knew to do, was to provide.
Financial stability.
Yeah. So that was his big way of showing love, is like you never were in need of something. So you would always make sure you were taken care of from that. That was his love, his way of showing love. My mom, on the other hand, she was a little bit more. She was more, I guess, she would ask us questions about our lives, and to some degree, you know what I mean. So she showed more love, like showing interest, and I don't know. It was different with my mom, as far as how she showed love. She was the one that was always there, making sure we got to all our games and our practices and all our events. That was her way of making sure we had these good experiences, and took us to all our dentist appointments and doctor's appointments, and all that stuff. So that was her. There was never really like much physical per se. Like our household wasn't much of a hugging, kissing, that type of thing. Love. It was more other ways.
Yeah, okay. How do you think your upbringing shaped the way you entered this marriage?
I guess it was. I learned a lot of things that not to do per se. Some stuff to do. Like I said, be a provider. And make sure that you and the girls, that everything is always taken care of, and that you guys never have in need of things. So I definitely learned that from my father. But as far as, I definitely learned that I wanted something more, as far as for like more physical affection, be more huggy, be more lovey, be more present with conversations, and get to know the girls and on deeper levels. And I think that's something I learned that I didn't have, and I enjoyed that aspect of it.
So there wasn't a lot of physical affection that you witnessed between your parents. How did you witness them connect? Like how did you see them connect?
That's a great question. I mean, really, that we would be together for just about all, church, and we'd be together for family activities, and so for them to connect, I mean, that's a that's a great question. I don't know. Like it's kind of baffling just to look at them, because I see them more lovey now than they were ever before. Growing up, you didn't see a lot of. It was more, unfortunately, it was a lot of like more control, more power on my dad's end. So it was you just kind of saw my mom being very submissive, and never, but she would vocalize her concerns or being upset. Like she would let us know, but she would never really say anything about it, because she was afraid of him being upset or getting mad at her, whatever the case was. There was never, so I never ever saw, since we're I guess I have an open book, never saw physical violence. That never happened, and never ever
Yeah.
ever saw that in my parents' lives. I did see the emotional aspect of it, though, where my mom would definitely bow down, cower down, and not stay, vocalize her concerns or her needs and things like that. And so it's a weird dynamic between them. I don't know. I never really saw a great relationship. It's hard to say this, but I never really saw a great relationship between them. I didn't grow up seeing that like, oh, they have this really cool dynamic, this really cool, like they talk and they have fun and they joke and they dance together, and what I mean, I never really saw that. So I don't know. I don't know.
How do you think that shaped your relationships?
I saw more about what I wanted differently. I wanted someone who you were more physically affectionate to each other. You would be open, and you would talk about a lot of things, and have similar like I wanted more similarities, in a sense, do things together more so, because I definitely, they would do their activities, but it was always separate. So my dad would go to golf. He golfed a lot. He would go to play softball, baseball. He would do his church things, but it was, so they were separated a lot. But then we would do family. My dad, I take it. I mean, he always made sure that we had like family get-togethers on Mondays and on Sundays. So he was, he did make sure that he liked us present, and I think that was one of the things. He liked people around. He wanted to make sure we were there, but it wasn't necessarily engaging. Just as long as you were there in the presence, he really liked that. He liked everybody being and that fulfilled him in some way. But it was like for me, I needed more. Like I wanted more. Like I said, conversations and get to know each other. Like I realized how much I enjoy that aspect, and so that's something
Did you
that changed.
did you realize that when you were younger that you wanted more, or is that something that you grew to understand about yourself?
Definitely grew to understand that. Yeah, that it's like
Yeah.
as I was more social and interactions with friends and their parents and stuff, and I realized like I actually like the more social aspect. Like I need more talking and getting to know each other and asking questions and having that sort of a relationship, because I had that with friends' parents, but I didn't have that with my own per se. You know what I mean? It was my dad was, and to his credit, he worked a lot. Like he worked hard, and then he was very devoted to church, and so that's what he did. And so when he got home from late at night, 8, 9 o'clock at night, he would stop in our room. But he would Todd and I joke all the time that it would just be a very very informal, like, how was school? Don't take no wooden nickels. What's your teacher's name? He would say these things, and then he would just leave. Right? That was the end of it. You know what I mean? Like he would come in and say those things, and then he would just walk out the door. And so it was like he was showing a presence, but it
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily the connection that I think that we needed or wanted per se, and he didn't know
Yeah.
either. But I mean, he was just doing this thing. They would show up, but so I guess, yeah. Over time, I learned that I like more of the conversation. I like more of the get to know each other and like I said, medium to deep conversations.
What part of your past self, like your younger self, came into this relationship still needing healing? I mean, I guess you kind of answered that, really.
Yeah, the physical.
I think
Like
you
I said,
kind
the
of
physical.
answered that. Like you needed more connection, is what it sounds like to me. Correct me if I'm wrong. But you wanted more connection that you weren't receiving.
Sure, physical connection, conversation, talking. Um, yeah, I mean, wanted more of
I want
that.
to hug you. Hugs,
Yeah.
hugs. Okay, so what surprised you most about being married to me?
Surprised me the most. I think that what we talked about is the openness and the honesty. How that is something that you really cherish and value. And I was never really prepared for that, I guess, to have an open and honest relationship. You know what I mean? Not sorry. Let me go back. Not an open, but meaning talking and being, say, sharing your truths, sharing your, and sharing with each other, and really being honest with each other. Yeah, that was something that from I remember several stories early on how important that was for you. You were trying to establish that early on about just being open and honest and communicating, and that was something I was not ready or prepared for. Um, to be in an honest relationship where you can share your feelings and be yourself, be your true self. And so over time, I've learned more and more. That's what I liked, is that we could be ourselves, but I'm still, like I said, learning how to do that. Really being honest with your feelings and not trying to protect people's feelings and be a people pleaser and in that aspect.
Yeah, I don't even know where that comes from, to be perfectly honest, because what I witnessed growing up from my parents was they had friendship and connection and they would go out together, and I don't know why there's something innate that like strives for to be with that one person. I guess maybe I associated like seeing that they were always just completely themselves. They were never one way outside of the house and then another way within the house, if that makes sense. And so witness, I mean, nothing short of friendship. You know this. I tell you this all the time, like, or we would talk about this all the time. But like, I don't know, like they would like watch shows together. Like I witnessed friendship. Even, obviously they went through the things that they went through, but I am unsure of where that need originated. I just know that I always wanted that with you. It was always just, no, just be who you are. I want to be who I am, and let's just love each other like no one else has ever loved us before.
And you
And so
have,
that's always just meant a lot to me.
like you said, you're bringing that into the relationship, and I'm bringing in. I never saw a true friend. I mean, it sucks, but I never saw a true friendship with my mom and dad. I
Right.
never saw it that way.
It just wasn't your example per se. Was there, I know there was there a moment in our early years that challenged your idea of what a husband should be? Especially like from your example, and then, it's like, oh, what I thought was what I should be as a husband, maybe I need to rethink.
We've talked about some of this stuff where, like, I always felt like I kind of had the mindset of my dad, same thing, where you're like, you feel like you're doing everything by once you provide, once, you're going to work and, making sure there's no debtors coming to the house, there's no one coming to repo your car. You're not getting eviction notices on your home. Feel like by doing that you've done it all. There's nothing more that you really need to give when it comes to
The
the
financial
dish.
provider.
Right. When it comes to doing the dishes and cleaning up the house and doing the laundry, so my father, he didn't do any of that. That was not his duty. It wasn't his job. It was my parents. Their roles were very clear cut. Like, no, you didn't. He didn't do that. But he did the outside stuff, mowing the lawns and taking out the trash. Sure, he did that stuff and provided. But that was really it. And so I guess being a husband, learning more about there's more to it than just being a provider. I mean, the Chris Rock talks about, like, that's what you're supposed to do, right? So you're doing like you're doing the bare minimum, like, but how can you elevate and be why just be content with the status quo? Why not try to do something bigger and better? But I mean, and so you did challenge me in that aspect to like, even with child rearing and doing things as a man, putting you first, and that's something that had to really learn how to balance, because I saw my dad's aspect of just being more like, this is the way it is, don't question it. What I say goes, and if I say people are coming over, that's the way it is. If I say this happened, this is what's happening. And so I saw that. And then when with you, it was more like, no, 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 we got. How do we do this as a team? Like, I got to communicate with you first, and don't do it. We're like, well, because then when I agreed to things and not talk to you about it, and then if it can't happen, then it always looked like you were the bad person, right? Where she's the one saying no, she's the one saying no. So had to learn to move more of it as a team. So yeah, that's something I had to definitely learn, is being a team and not being that more of a, I don't want to say dictatorship, but it was definitely he ruled the house, and what he said went, and there was no challenging that. And I had to learn that, no, that's not how it actually works. You have to be a team and discuss things and come to agreements and things together. I didn't necessarily see, but you definitely, you put that in place early on, and I had to learn that, as far as it's more of a team than it is a dictatorship.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm thinking about my example, and it was almost reversed in my household. What my mom said went, and I do, because my dad was always, you know my dad. He was always easy and going, as the girls say, easy and going. But I did realize earlier on, I didn't necessarily want that fully. I wanted to be a part of a team, to where I didn't want emulate exactly that dynamic between my parents. Like, my mom, like, ruled the root. Like, it was what she said went. At least from what I witnessed, and I just know that I had never quite wanted that fully. Like, it was always about, it's us locking in together. And I just think it's really interesting how even our examples, we tweak them, right? They become slightly like tweaked. So we're both learning and growing from each other, and we aren't exactly wanting to emulate our.
Do you hear that?
Do you hear the cats?
He's going crazy right now.
Where is he? Miles? Okay, hold on. Let me just feed him really quick. Dang it! Freaking cats!
Oh, we're back.
Do you have it on properly this time? You do. Okay. What version of you did I meet at the altar? And how has he evolved?
The version at the altar. The version as the altar was definitely the person that I was told I needed to be. I was told that how you're supposed to be, and yeah, that was not my true authentic self for sure. That was just definitely going through the motions, knowing that this is what you were supposed to be doing. You're supposed to
Do you
find
feel like you
someone.
wanted to get married? Honestly.
I knew I did want to get married at that time in my life. I don't know, but I knew that we had something good, and I knew I was leaving for school, and so I didn't know that it would work out or last whatever if I went through medical school without pursuing this further. Did I was I fully gung ho like, oh, this is no, but I knew marriage was part of what
You're
the plan I
supposed to
was
do,
told
the
I was supposed to follow,
expectation.
right?
I
And
have
so
that feeling about most men. Like, if you guys weren't challenged to marry, you probably wouldn't. I feel like there are definitely more men who speak up now who want marriage and things like that. That structure of life and commitment from the woman that they love, and they want to have children and, all the things. But, like, I don't know. I bet if you polled most men, I don't know why I feel like that, but I feel like they wouldn't necessarily get married because they feel like it's changing their life in such a way that they can't be who they are.
I think,
Is that safe to say? I don't know. Do you feel like that, like with men that you know?
yeah, I mean, marriage with men is always, they do feel restricted. They feel like it's a lot of stuff. It ends up holding them back to some degree. Growing up, it was like, again, it was something that you were just expected to do. Particularly, it was, being full on in the church at the time. It was more about if you wanted to continue a romantic relationship with this person, in order to do it the safe way where God wouldn't be upset or mad at you and punish you for the rest of your life, is it had to be done in the bonds of marriage. And so you have this idea where, like, you can't really live a normal life unless you get married in order to do the things that's normal, which is have physical relationships with your counterpart. And so,
It's a lot of pressure.
but I mean, but then
Do you feel like you always had that? Like, even like,
yeah, no,
I
it was
mean,
always
it was always there. It was always, you're going to get married. I know you always had the pressure of you're a boy, so you're going on a mission, right? Like, so you've always had that pressure, and then you've always had the pressure of you need to get married.
right, correct. And you have to get married again. It's because if you want to have sexual relationships with a female, it has to be done
Right.
in the bonds. Otherwise, God is going to be very upset with you, and there's no way to make it back to Him without it. End of story. So you believe that, and so it's like, well, this is part of God's plan, and you have to find someone that you're going to to get married to. And so that's the only way to do it. And so we had, like I said, at that time in my life, it was things were right. It was the right age, right? I mean, it was the right time in your life where you're starting to go into your careers and graduate schools and blah blah blah. So, and start to have kids, the right age for kids, all
Yeah.
that. And it's like you're on the time clock, right? Too. It's same things like, oh, if we don't do it now, if I wait 10 years from now when I finally finish school, okay, now I'm in my 30s, and now you're gonna have a kid when they're in their 20s. They're gonna be in, like, geez, they're gonna be like 56. So it was
When
like
you do the
also
math.
in a weird way, you had that biological clock ticking. I know women get it, but also to some degree as a man, also I was like, well, I want to be young enough when my kids are young to be able to go out and play with them and do things with them. I don't want to be too old doing that. So
Yeah.
you had that pressure on you, and again, it's like you can't have this physical or a romantic relationship with this person unless you are married, and if you have kids, blah blah. So it was all part of the process, right? I was just following what I was told to do. And so your question was like, so that person at the altar that was there, it was a very naive child. Yeah, I mean, it was a very naive child. It was I was 20,
I'm trying
2004.
to
I was
think.
maybe
How old was
25.
I?
I was,
Okay.
I was 20. Yeah, 2003. Carry a couple zeros. So 2004. I was born in 78. So that would have been 25.
Wow. So that means I was 23. Was I 23?
22. You were 22. You were almost. Oh no, no. You would have been. You're right. You would have been 20. Just turned
Yeah,
23.
I was 23. Oh my
Turned.
gosh. I don't think I've ever like really calculated that. That is so young. We were so young.
What?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, look at it. I mean, yeah. It's looking at who we are now. I mean, it's like
Yeah, we
the
were
people we are
babies.
now
We knew
compared to when we were.
nothing.
But I would say I truly do feel, I would say we're more of our authentic selves now. I really
Well,
do
yeah,
feel
for
that way.
sure. Without a
It
doubt.
took us a while to get there. Yeah. took a while to get there, but that's one thing I'd
Yeah,
say we're, you know, more of our authentic selves now. But
without a
me,
doubt.
yeah, that person at the altar is not, I mean, we wouldn't even recognize each other, to be honest with you. Not just because of gray hair and the brown hair. I mean, yeah, that's one thing, but, or white hair now, whatever it is. But yeah, I don't think we would recognize each other at all.
What
Nor
would
would,
you,
I was gonna say, I don't think that person at that time would be happy for who I am now, but I'm actually completely content and happy for that person who he was at the time. Does that make sense?
hmm
It's kind of weird. I
wow.
never thought of that. The person he at the altar at that time would be very, like almost disappointed, almost upset, almost be bothered by the person I am now, but the person who
In
I am
what
now,
way? Oh my gosh, talk,
I'm like
speak to that.
I'm just a completely different person. The way what I believe in when it comes to church and what I believe in, like in family relationships and where my family relationships are right now, right? I never, these things, relationship with you, the things that we've done, the things that we've experienced, right? And
But you think that alter Mark would be disappointed in current Mark?
yeah, because that mark at that time was really locked into I mean, thinking what the religion would, where I would be religious from that aspect. A lot of it is really based around religion.
Yeah.
Where I thought it would be, and if doing the things where you're not going to church and every week, and it's my life. It is a one. I mean, it is a complete 180 from that person on the
Yeah.
altar. It really is. I mean, complete 180.
What would you like? What advice would you have for alter Mark? Alter Mark. I'm just gonna name him.
So what advice would I have for Alter Mark is actually go with your true gut feeling of who you are and embrace it. Embrace that. Don't worry about what you think your parents are going to think of you, or your siblings are going to think of you, or the other people in the church are going to think about of you. Or just be who you are and stand by that. And if you don't agree with something or you want to do something, share it. Be your authentic self. Be true to who you are. And that's what, like I said, with our relationship, what's been great about it is you've always encouraged that. You've never really not allowed that to happen. You always have allowed me to kind of be myself, and slowly but surely I've been like embracing that. You know what I mean, and really allowing that person to be who he is, and not feel embarrassed by it, not feel shunned by it, not be upset with that person. It's as far as, because it's like, again, you have that whole idea of what thought you were supposed to be, and then and you tell me all the time I was bucking the system, and so all along I was realizing this wasn't me, right? This wasn't the true me, and I was afraid to be the true me, because all the people at that time who was around were, like I said, it was such a community of the religion, and so
What
you
did you
really
think
wanted.
was the worst that would happen if you were to be your true, authentic self?
Well, I mean, the people in you wouldn't be accepted. You would be constantly on the outs of them. You couldn't go to the temple. You couldn't go to those events, the marriages and the sealings and, baptisms. You couldn't do all that stuff. And taking the sacrament on Sunday, like it was, so everyone would see that you weren't living this life, and so you would be sort of cut out of this community, right? You wouldn't be part of this community because all the events that they were doing and going to, right? You're not following this stuff. So, and people following it have a very strong opinion about those who are not following it. And so they'll talk about you, gossip about you. I mean, I experienced all that as a teenager, right? All the gossip about you, and things being, stuff being spread about you, and the whispers and all that stuff. So it was like a way of the community shutting you out, per se, if you don't fall in line.
So currently, you aren't following any of that. So, how do you not make amends, but like, what do you think of that now? Like, because that is currently what you're doing. All of those pressures and all of those thoughts and those fears, how are they affecting you now? Like, how does that affect you now?
Doesn't. So once I've embraced more of who I am, and that I realized I was doing it I was living other people's lives. I was living in other people's life. I really was. What people expected of you. And so once I embraced who I was and embraced that I don't want to do those things. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And then just talking with people and sharing my true beliefs, like really not what I was told to believe in or told to tell people, but when I really share my true beliefs about stuff, I'm like, yeah, just really embraced who I was. And if people don't agree with it or don't like it, cool. Like I'm fine with that now. Happier now that I'm able to share what I believe, or what not what I was told to spit out, right? Now I can truly say, hey, I feel this way about abortion. I feel this way about homosexuality. I feel this way about religion. I feel this way. You know what I mean? Like I can say my true feelings, and not a regurgitated answer that I was that you're told to answer. So I've embraced it, and so it doesn't. I really don't have any feelings about that. Actually, I actually feel so much. It's freedom. It's free. It's way more free for sure.
Amen to that. You say a lot like I helped you in that way, but do you realize that you provided a safe space for me to evolve into into the person, the woman that I've become, because I absolutely could have been the same way, like living someone else's life. But I think that we are such a dynamic team in that way that even, like you say, like I've helped you lay down that foundation to be your authentic self. You have done the same thing for me as well. Like I've never really like felt judged or put in a place mentally to where I can't be my true self, almost so much so that I had an awakening before you, and I was like, no, come with me, come, like come with me. And it was just like you were already having that awakening, because how do I even phrase that, because you made a safe space for me to be who I am, which in turn allowed me to make a safe space for you to be who you are, your authentic self. Does that make sense?
And I think you were able to embrace it much, or see it, or understand it, or embrace it much sooner than I did. I remember one of the first things was I don't know why it always goes back to church, but it was like that was such a it was such a my whole world was evolved around that. I just remember going to the bishop, and he had a calling, and he extended that calling to you, and you're like, no, I'm not comfortable doing that. And I just remember turning like, wait, what? You can say
Did she
no?
say no?
Because I remember going to those similar meetings. We go to similar meetings growing up, and you just said yes. End of story. My dad would be in the room, and he'd look at you, and they'd extend the ask or the calling, whatever it was, and the answer was always like, you never challenged it. You never said. I just remember learning that time. It was like, no, I'm not. I don't want to. And also the same thing with that meeting. I remember that's one of the things we've talked about, is how such a pivotal moment that I saw, where my mom was that women's meeting that you guys had to go
Oh
to on
yeah,
Sunday.
it's a
You
Relief
you were like, I don't
Society
feel like
event.
going. You don't feel like going. And but my mom was being forced to go by my dad. It wasn't a choice. She never had that choice. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I saw that it bothered her, and she was like, "Well, tell your wife to tell Mika she has to go." I'm like, "Mom, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. You don't tell them." But she's like, "Well, I have to go." And I just remember how upset she was. And the more I've looked back and realized like her pent up stuff, or her frustration, that it's as much as it talks about free agency, she doesn't have agency. She has zero agency. Is those all these choices are taken from her, because I know she didn't want to go to the meeting, but she had to because my dad was going to make her go, right? And so that's one thing, yeah, for sure. I wanted to change in my relationship. It would never be like a dictatorship. It's never that way where, hey, we're allow both parties to talk, allow both parties to share. And if one person doesn't want to go to like a meeting, I don't like going to the meetings. It's like, so why would I force her to go to the meetings all the time? It's annoying.
Right.
So I just realized at the same time, I was like, no, I was never going to move like that, where you have to do these things that you necessarily don't want to or are uncomfortable with. But I saw a lot of those examples, and so it's like I saw that growing up, and so wanting you to be who you are, but you also who you are, also being a free spirit, and being speaking your mind, and saying no when you're uncomfortable with something, and saying, hey, I don't feel like doing that. So that, like I said, it's you being who you are, and the dynamic we had really, I think, helped you get to this point a lot faster than I was able to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I just always felt love from you. Like it was never like it never felt conditional, if that makes sense. Like you talk about, I mean, you very much talk about conditional love, like growing up with conditional love. I've just never felt conditional love from you. Like, if I don't do these things, Mark won't love me. And so that, again, that lays a foundation of, okay, be who you are, be yourself. And I just always wanted that for us, like, not just for myself, but for us. I want that for our children, like, be who you are. Like, the love is unconditional. It truly is.
Difficult thing. That's been a very difficult thing for me to learn and believe is this conditional versus non-conditional love, right? Is I definitely deep down inside realize, well, I don't know that I realized it. I just always felt like that's what it was. It was a conditional thing. So you had to do certain things. You don't upset this person. If you upset them, then they can withdraw their love from you, right? They can pull back. And if you're not following everything they say, because that is, I don't feel my parents, that was my dad's intent. I don't think he was doing this maliciously.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't feel that way at all. I don't think it was malicious. That's just who he was. You know, it's like, hey, as long as you're doing these things, everything is kosher, everything's good. Well, then you'll receive the love of the, but love being the financial, support and help and everything. But the unconditional aspect, yeah, that's something that I'm still learning how to deal with is realizing no, someone can love you even though you upset them, even though you may hurt their feelings, or even though you may disagree with them, and learning how that is actually the true love, right? Is that there is no conditions behind it. So I'm learning that, and it's been a lifelong journey to try to actually trust that and believe that.
Do you think most men feel the same way you do? Do you think like you grew up in an era where most of the dads were just like your father, just like your dad? And
No,
so in return, like, and no,
I don't feel it because a lot of my friends' dads weren't at least what I saw. At least that's all I can say. Like my experience with a lot of my friends' dads, it wasn't that way. It wasn't necessarily conditional things. A lot of the friends I had were, like I said, I hung around more non-Mormons. Maybe it was intentional. I really did. I look back at my friend people.
subconsciously. Yeah.
uh, I got closer and closer with people who were actually non-Mormon, and so then you would see the relationships, and so I guess the fathers maybe didn't have that same pressure per se that my dad had, as far as for upholding faith and looking a certain way, and your family's got to be there every Sunday, dressed and looking good, and sit in the front row and quiet and doing all the right things. So I don't think they necessarily had that same pressure my dad had. So they were more, they may not have that conditional love. I'm assuming, right? I mean, it could be conditional love. They could have experienced that in a whole different way, right? And it
Yeah,
wasn't religious,
for
but
sure.
I didn't see it the way that I was, shown conditional love. So I don't, yeah, I don't think I saw a lot of the dads that same way. Even my mission president, this is what's weird. The mission president I had is I had such a close relationship with him, and he was what I looked at like a father figure in my life, because I could actually open up and talk to him, and we could actually have a lot of dialogue, and I learned a lot from this man. And a lot of the conversations I wish I could have had with my father, but it was just that relationship that was never there. And he was, like I said, this was my mission president, so he's very dead, very locked in the church. But I had a different experience and relationship with him, because he was able to talk about things in a way that I didn't feel as conditional. Right? Like the relationship wasn't as conditional.
Do you feel, I mean, we've talked about this a little bit. Do you feel like throughout your youth, your young adulthood, that you searched for these sort of father figure roles that were more easy and going and like not as structured as your dad was, like your father was?
Yeah, it was definitely way more drawn to the leaders that were more personality, like to joke around, like to talk, like to hang out. They could still do the church, they still did the church stuff, but they were more laid back per se. And so I found myself that it was easier to vibe with them, or connect with them, because that wasn't my natural personality style, to be so rigid, so uptight with the rules, and you know what I mean? I was just naturally more drawn to those that were very social and very talkative, and like to have,
Yeah. Do you feel like growing up that you had anyone outside of your family that you could be your most authentic self with? Like, do you have a person in mind that you're like, oh, you know what? I was always myself with this person. This person always knew me.
hmm,
Like your most authentic self.
right, right. I would say that my friends in high school, definitely I was starting to embrace who I was with them, and like I said, they were all non-Mormon, non-members. So I was always drawn, for sure. I mean, my closest friends in high school, as much as we went to church every day, every Sunday, and scouts, and did all that stuff, my closest friends, even the one that I was close with, Eric, had a really close relationship with him, but he was definitely what would have been considered a rebel. He stopped
Right.
going. He stopped going to church. He was living what it looked to me like more of a free life, and making his own decisions. Got to do what he wants to do, and just being free. And so he didn't have, like, his dad wasn't, his mom was really in the church, but his dad wasn't. So his dad, we hung a lot, around a lot with his dad. He would take us to movies, and he would take us to fly kites, and he would take us to play sports, and he would, like, he did all these things with us. And it was more like free, and so I was definitely more my authentic self with him. But yeah, he was the only one that was I hung around very closely. That was, I guess, still I would say was Mormon, but he wasn't living the Mormon life. All my other ones, as I got older, it was always non-members. It's funny, I was always bucking this. I was not
Do
with
you
members.
think that since your dad, because he was a business owner, entrepreneur, do you think that his, I want to say absence, but that feels kind of rude to say. Do you think that if he were more present in a real way in your life, that you would not have searched for something else? Or do you think that even if he were to tried with you, you still would have like,
Yeah, no, I understand I understand your question. No, so he was present in the way that he knew to be present, and I do appreciate him for that.
yeah.
But I'm recognizing, no, my dad and I, we're completely different people. We just are. We're even if he was present more, I know who he is and what what he does and everything like that. And he's always been held firm to one direction, which is not my who I am. And so we wouldn't vibe like if it wasn't for him being my father, we would never vibe because we're just completely different. Um, different likes, different belief. We're just different in that sense.
What season of our marriage demanded the most growth from you?
I would say the last 5 years for sure. The last
Yeah.
5 years have been the
Yeah,
most
yeah, yeah, yeah.
most growth. I would say during the last 5 years, been through the real life stuff, right? I feel like to some degree protected, sheltered, even with child rearing. We were just, we were doing. I don't know that we were faced with I don't know, with a whole lot of lives other than child rearing. I don't know that we were faced with so many life situations until about maybe 5, 6 years ago, with families, with our own stuff going on, our personal stuff, my personal stuff with work and dealing with like actual true life stressors with different things. And so I'd say, yeah, the most challenging has been for sure last 5, 6 years that required the most growth for me as a person for sure.
How has being a dad changed the way you show up as a husband? Like, how do those two, I don't want to say personas, but like they're two totally different relationships, right? So, how has being a father affected how you show up as a husband?
I'm not sure how to answer it that direction, but as far as answering it the opposite direction, being a husband, as far as how to do as a father, is the importance of the relationship that you and I have, and how to treat women, how to allow you to be free, how to allow you to have your space to share your feelings and your thoughts, and your important role is in the family dynamic with raising children. That so it's like I think the knowing how to treat you properly as a not just my wife, but and spouse, but as a female counterpart, and allowing you to be who you are. That's really helped me with them, is allowing them to be who they are, and knowing like as far as talk how I talk and with you, is also do the same thing with them, as far as not trying to yell, and really trying to talk to them calmly, and not using foul language and with them, and calling them certain words. I mean, all those different things. It's like treat them like I treat you. You know what I mean? So it's like I definitely try to do that. So how I treat you has really helped me know how to treat them as individuals and as women, and children, and that. So I'm trying to think how as a father, how has it helped me in our relationship? And
I mean,
I'd
I
have to think
think
about it.
you're answering that actually. Yeah, I mean, I feel like you answered it. I mean, it's in a way because it's like, have you been able to recognize how you treat me and show up for me directly affects them as well?
Oh
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that you've answered that. So, treating me with respect and love, do you see how it directly affects our daughters as well and their future relationships?
I do. I feel they'll definitely, because you hear those things as far as the way that the father's treating his wife or the spouse or the partner, whoever it is at the time, and the children see this, and they then are drawn to a certain thing, right? I would definitely say they've never seen they've seen us argue and fight. Yeah, absolutely. But I genuinely feel like if we were to how do you see your parents' relationship? They would see us as they're friends, and they go out a lot together, they joke around, they laugh a lot together, they spend a lot of time together, they're lovey, they kiss, they hug, they cuddle, they do all these things together. So I do feel like they're seeing how they should be treated as women, because and I as far as there's no physical violence, there's no I really try, like, even emotional stuff, like not trying to be emotionally abusive as well, any of that stuff. Granted, we do have arguments in front, sure, that's happened.
I think it's so important for them to witness the balance. It's equally as important for them to see us happy and best friends and all of our date nights and all the things, but I think it's important for them to witness when we do have disagreements how we can forgive each other and come back from it as well. Like, I
Right.
don't necessarily support the notion of putting on such a false facade in front of your children all the time and pretending like everything is perfection all the time. I don't buy into that. I think there's a balance that needs to be struck. And like, if they witness us disagree, they definitely need to witness how we come back together and forgive each other and still love each other. And we don't allow it to go to such lengths where it's damaging. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, because obviously our children are learning from us how to act in outside relationships. So, and you're going to have disagreements, right? Like, everyone has disagreements, everyone goes through those things, but I think it's very important that they also witness the love, like the genuine love and the connection, So,
I agree.
and, they've communicated as much, like what children don't want to see their parents happy together and, having a friendship and, like we should all want that for our children, really.
No, I really did want to make sure I set a different example for them, because, like I said, and I hate this because, well, sorry, I don't want to make it sound like a bash on my parents per se. It was more about that's the relationship they knew, right? They were going off of their experiences, and so, but it's just like, but they also, I do thank them in a sense, because they also shared an example for me of okay, I've seen it work this way. Let's try it a different way and see if you get different results or different things. And it's like I didn't want that type of a relationship per se, even though it works for them. Like I said, they've been married, I mean, a long
Yeah.
time, and
Yeah.
that was their dynamic, and it worked for them. And like I said, they did show me some good things for sure, but they also showed me some things that what maybe I'd try something a different way.
Yeah.
To credit to them, like they had the example for me to, like, okay, learn something different from them.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, our parents are always instructing us, whether they want to or not. And, I'm very aware of that. What do you think our girls would be like surprised to know about us as a couple? As much as they witness from us, what do you think they would be surprised to like learn or know about us as a couple? And they're always telling me, oh my gosh, you didn't exist. You don't have friends. Like, you can't do this. You can't do that. You don't exist. Like, we don't exist in a certain light in their minds.
Right.
We just don't. Like, as individuals, they still see us as mom and dad.
I think they would be surprised to see how many things that we've embraced to experience in our lives, like we've been open to experience. I guess that's things we've talked about, things that even recently, things we talked about that we're open to experiencing in our lives together, as a couple. It was as a couple, and it was fun, right? And we were both there and enjoyed it, and so it's like we just want to experience life and enjoy lots of these things.
What's something that we've built together that no one ever clapped for, but that like really matters to you?
I would say it's kind of currently it's going right now, actually, is establishing really, like, true open and honesty with each other, um and what that does for a relationship. You know what I mean? It's like, when people really can do that. That's one of those things where I do feel relationship or couples should be applauded when they can be their 100% true authentic selves. They can share their true open honest feelings, share the things they want, need, like, blah blah blah, all that, and they're not judged by the other person. They feel safe that they can do that. That's, I think, is the big difference. Is I know there's so many relationships where the one one or both parties feel stifled. They feel like they can't share certain things. They feel like they can't talk about this. They feel like they can't, hey, I like this or I'm into this or blah, 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 whatever case. They feel like stifled and judged and held back. And so they'll never progress, at least in my mind, I don't feel they'll ever progress to that type of that next level.
Do you think we'll ever know, like, the true depths of someone else's relationship, though?
True. No, no, you don't. You
And
don't.
their authenticity, like,
All you can hear is, like I said, I just know from my perspective, just hearing a lot of guys talk about that, where they're like, oh, they can't do this because this, and blah, blah, I wouldn't say that, I can't share this, can't. And so even for me, it hasn't been an easy road, right? Is really testing those waters in a sense, and being, like I said, you've always allowed that platform to be honest and do things that are against what I was growing up that would be considered okay, even though none of those things were
right.
bad, but they were considered bad in that mind. So it's when you finally can do that, I'm telling you, that's like such a huge step in a relationship, because and we've talked about this before, is that just because the person's not telling you, they still have those thoughts and feelings.
Absolutely.
So they're not going away, right? And
Absolutely.
so they do come out in other ways in whatever situations and blah blah blah. And then it also, the person may even be drawn to be like a little deceitful or lie
Absolutely.
about things, because they are still trying to get that thing that they want to try out or see or do, or whatever it is, right? Hey, I want to go drinking with my buddies on Mondays, but my wife won't let me. So what am I gonna do? Hey, on Monday I'm working late. You know what I mean? Just like
Right.
things like that. I'm at the office, but meanwhile it's like, hey, I want to actually go drink with my buddies, right?
Right. Right.
And so they're afraid to say these things because, like I said, it's going to become this issue. But it's like when you can finally, both sides just be like, hey, we both have these things we want, we both have these things we need. Let's talk about them, and see how we can navigate it so that you can get the things that you want, so I can get the things that I want, and or want to experience or see and do. It's more about that, but it takes that. The applauding thing is when you can get to that level where you can be just dead honest with each other.
How do you get there?
You got to test it. You just got to do it. You really do. And the more you do it, the more and you realize there's no. I mean, it's all within balance too. Like you obviously have to have your
Yeah.
your stuff. Is you're sharing these things, and then when you actually test it, like, okay, we're saying these things, do it.
Further.
Well, then you do it, and then you're like, okay, I told her, and nothing happened, right?
I
Because
do
we talked
go
about that.
golf every Saturday.
Right. So, right. But it's like, so, but it takes both, because it does take both parties to be willing to listen and say, hey, these are the things that they need, and put your own, learning how to put your own preconceived notions or your own insecurities or your own anxieties, down, and allow that person to
That's
live.
really hard to do, though, I think.
It is. That's how you get, like I said,
But like, what advice would you give a friend to open up that dialogue? Like, how would you like suggest getting to that point?
that point. Boy,
Because I think that men can be misunderstood in a way that you don't have feelings, that you aren't emotional, that you don't want connection, that you don't desire vulnerability with another person, right? Especially your spouse. So, how, like, what advice could you give to men to open up that dialogue and that the open up that relationship more for better communication?
I mean, you do gotta just have a real heart to heart. I mean, we've had heart to hearts, and really express what you want and what you need, what you really need from each other. And if it really is your partner, if it really is a true, like, your ride or die, your end all. And this is what's so interesting about it, is you found, like, you get married, right? And to this person who's supposed to be your end all, your ride or die, right? This is it, right? This is the person. And yet you're in this relationship where you both feel so stifled, you can't be your true selves. It's such a weird thing, where you're truly spending the rest of your life with this person, but you're not even being who you are for the rest of your life with this person.
Even, I mean,
It's
even that terminology, your end all, I think if you were to look at it differently, look at the relationship differently, like, oh my gosh, this is the person that I can grow with. Not like my end all, like this is it, but like, oh my gosh, this is my person that I can experience everything in life with. This is my person that I can become my best self with. So lean into it. Try to lean as much as possible into it.
And that's a great point. It really is. It's a great point, but it takes both people to be open to that. And that takes a lot of individual growth to let go of a lot of societal norms and let go of all the old traditions that you were growing up believing and doing. You know what I mean? It's like to do that, you really have to want this change, and both people have to want it the same, like around the same time. Because if one is growing way beyond the other, it does. That's when I think things.
We're we're so different now than like alter Mark and Mika.
That's correct.
And I give a lot of credit to those road trips. Do you remember our road trips, like back and forth from Reno to Vegas, Reno to Vegas? And it was just like we had so many great conversations that it really, and we were what, like second? When we moved to Reno, how many years was that?
When we moved to Reno, we were just freshly married. We moved
We
to
were freshly married.
married in
And
'04,
so we didn't even really like know each other.
2005. Yeah.
So those road trips were a lot. And I think that, again, I credit you as well because I don't know, like I just wanted to start, like I didn't know I was a conversationalist, but I just knew that I wanted to connect with you deeper. And so I remember us having like the best conversations, like the best conversations. And I think that that laid a foundation of safety for me to continually grow. And then, like you were just saying, like, okay, like you come with me and I'm coming with you, like you're leading a little bit and I'm leading a little bit. But like something about those long, boring, because we could have easily zoned out. I could have had a book in my face and, listening to music and like whatever. It would have been easy to actually draw further apart, to draw, like to grow apart, right?
As much as you, no, as much as you talk about that, I'm trying to even think back a lot of those conversations, and I don't, I can't, it's been so long ago, I can't remember
Yeah,
everything.
I can't even remember specific ones.
I
I
remember,
remember the feeling
right.
is what I remember.
I remember you talk about stuff and road trips. It was never really all that quiet and blah blah blah. But that's a great point. I never really thought of that we had paved that way earlier on. Because now when we have conversations, I mean, I can't tell you how many times now, right? We've stayed up until 6, 7 in the morning
Oh my gosh.
talking about stuff, right? And it's like, don't you have to
Yes.
work? Don't you have to be to work? Sure, I wanna go do
I
this.
don't care. I don't want this to end. Yeah.
So it is. I didn't realize. Yeah, we had set that kind of like paved that relationship or opened that part of the relationship much earlier on in it, where you can have talk and have dialogue, and joke around and do these things, and then now it's like I said, a lot deeper things we talk about now for sure. Because I mean, I'm trying to think back then we didn't talk. We talked about things for sure, but I feel like our conversations now are way deeper.
I think we like inched into, okay, she's a little crazy. She's got a little off sense of humor. So do I. You see what I'm saying? Like the seeds were planted, I think, for that growth, that closeness and that growth for sure. For sure. Like we realize how similar we were. I don't think we realized that when we were dating, to be perfectly honest. It's interesting to really even think about because we really got to know each other further on those road trips. It's just wild. Yeah, it's wild to think about. How do you stay in this love and this relationship even when it isn't easy? Like what keeps you here?
I mean, my deep rooted, yeah, the deep rooted love for sure, but my commitment to our bond, my commitment to our friendship. I think that's a big part of it is the friendship aspect of it, where there is a friendship there. So it's like, usually you give so many people in life more of a pass when you're friends with them, or you'll overcome things, you're willing to work through things, you do, what I mean, it's like because you really do have a true friendship with them, and so I think that's a big part of it is the friendship, the foundation of a true friendship, and then I mean the love is always there, but it's like we continue to, like I said, you do challenge me, you in good ways. I think that's what really helps. Like I enjoy that aspect of it, of challenging me physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. All these different things. That those challenges definitely keep me locked in. Or like I said, the things that we do together. Like I said, because when we have fun nights, I mean, even just the one on last Sunday night, whatever. I mean, we were out and about and just kind of doing our thing and just
Just
kind of
bopping around.
and have
Aimless.
and having a good time. Next thing you know, it's 6, 7 in the morning, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like those fun nights, those unplanned, just spontaneous nights are, I enjoy doing. And but again, it's like I enjoy the freedom that we have in our with each other, that we talk about a lot of things, and we share some. I mean, we get per, very very intimate with things, and share things with each other that are very personal and very very intimate. The next day, sometimes you're thinking like, I can't believe I actually shared that with somebody, an actual person. You know what I mean? I can't believe I shared that with an actual person. But keep that, keep it up here.
When's the last time you felt like that? Like, I can't believe I shared that with
Just
her.
on Sunday when we were like doing
Yeah,
our
yeah,
whatever
yeah.
thing, and some of the things we were talking about and saying, I was like, the next day, I'm like, wow, I can't believe, like I vocalized some of those things.
Do you ever have those moments where you're like, I can't believe she just said that, or
But not,
she just did that, or like, do I even surprise you after 20?
it's not even no, I really, it's not even about being surprised. It's just it's getting to know that person on another level, and again, we have, I can't reiterate this enough, we have these thoughts or these feelings or these beliefs or whatever they are, and just because you don't talk about them doesn't mean they're not there. And so I think it brings things a lot closer when you do say some of these, or not you, but when we say some of these things, it's just letting that person, you get to know them a little bit better. And I can't say I've ever feel judged by you. I really don't. I really don't feel like, I mean, and I mean that. I don't feel like I've ever been judged for my beliefs or my thoughts or my feelings or things, and that,
Really?
which is
I
great.
judge you all the time. I judge you all the time. But with love, with love. What do you think has been the most challenging time in our relationship, and how did we overcome it? Because, I mean, we've been through a lot of stuff, like a lot.
I mean, our
We've been
most
through a lot.
definitely when I was going transitioning jobs, because I was definitely burnt out and didn't see a way to get out of this work situation. And so I was just like, yeah, I was drowning with that, and then it was affecting our relationship, and it boiled over into all that, and I was finding ways of escaping from it, and it wasn't necessarily healthy ways all the time, but it's what I was kind of just knee-jerk reaction to do to try to get out of it or get away from it. But yeah, that time was definitely the way more challenging. And so what I did to get through that was just do everything I could to show I was locked in, that I wasn't gonna just wild out and do whatever. That I was locked in and was like, nope, I'm gonna be present and show that I care, and I guess try to move differently. And like I said, change jobs. It was a big thing. It really was to take that pressure off me, and so I can focus and lock in more. But then it also took you to realize like what you had at home as well. I feel like you also had to have that. And so I think we both, in the end, how did we get through this? Is that in the end we chose each other.
So you're saying, are you talking about, yeah, like the temptation of outside forces, outside people? I think every couple goes through that. Like, is that what you're talking about? Like around that time?
Well, that was part of it, and just the things that were going on at that time. But in the end, like I said, going through all of that, we had certain experiences and certain things that happened, and so it's like, but we chose each other. It just, how did it make it work? Is like, well, in the end, we still realized like, no, I still want to be with this person. Like I'm choosing this person over all that, whatever else. And that's what it comes down to, is choosing, making sure you always, that we choose each other. And that's what I think that what got us through is still like, no, I'm still going to be with this, I still want to be with this person.
I feel like, I say this all the time, and if you have a connection with your spouse, and especially if you have years in, right? And you've gone through some things. Like we've been through a lot of things, like death, moving, financial stress, like so many things. We are never going to have as deep a connection with someone else. Like we put in the time and the effort and like all the experiences that we've been through. You'll never get that with another person. Now, granted, some relationships are like really toxic and they need to get out of it and realize like, yeah, you'll never get that with another. Like, don't you shouldn't want that with anyone else. Like, put that in the dumpster, like to never be seen again. But like, I know for a fact, like there's no way I'll ever have as deep a connection with anyone else as I have with you.
And I
Like
agree with
it keeps me choosing you first all the time. Like it comes without question.
Well, that's yeah, I agree with you. We've been there is no way ever, like I said, particularly just at a young age where we were going through school together and then children together and then
Oh my
parenting
God,
together and then
so much.
this another relationship together because now kids are starting to get older and now we're able to go out again and date again and this relationship and and then going through work stresses and relationship stresses and not the struggles of that with not communicating and needs and wants and thing and yeah, I mean, yeah, we and then we get through it and overcome it and get through it and overcome. You know, what I mean, it's like, and so we've done that so many times now. And we've gotten strong. You know, you always get stronger and stronger and stronger. And so, yeah, there's no way ever to match this because it's like even if you were to at this point in life, I guess the thing that you would probably experience most with people is probably death. You know, experience a lot of deaths with people as you got older. I mean, unfortunately, it's probably what you'll experience a lot more of. But other than that, you don't have all these other things, that we've built and gone through together. And yeah, I mean, there would be no comparison. Even start from scratch, even the thought of that, starting from scratch with somebody, of trying to build, you know what I mean? It's like starting to scratch. I'm like, oh man, starting the calling, the talking and texting, and trying to like court and yada, and then, you know
Did
what
you
I mean?
say
Like,
court?
yeah, that's it. But just doing all that stuff, it was like,
Do you
man,
think there's a key to a long lasting relationship?
honesty. I mean, I go back to all the time. It really is honesty.
Honesty in all things? Like, you don't think that people should keep a little mystery, a little secret, or a little something
I mean,
something?
you can, but what does that do? Like there's no real gain from that, honestly. Like with the
So
person
you have no secret?
zero. But no, it's like I mean that's the true test, right? Is really do you have this person that you can share all of those things with, and you still trust and believe that they'll stick with you and be by your side, you know?
You feel like you have that with us?
I do feel like that now. Like I said, but and I'm again learning to trust this system, this process. Really, I'm trying to
You
test that.
say now, like well, since when? I guess I should ask.
So, I mean, our most recent, a couple weeks ago, our most recent conversation, whatever it was, realizing more and more how important that is to just have the true honesty with you and feelings. But it does take a lot of work for that other person to, again, to let go and let down all their insecurities and all their anxieties and really hear this person that they love and want to try, like I said, to continue to grow with, is really listen to them, and hear their needs, their concerns, their wants, and do your part to do that. Fulfill those things from that with that person that they're asking for, that they need. And like I said, you may not agree with some of those things, but that's where the balance comes in. Like, you may not necessarily like, well, that's kind of goes against what I would do or whatever the case, but like, well, this is this person's needs. These may not be your needs. Oh, I need to go out 2-3 times a week. Well, that's not your needs, right? These are mine. It's like, these are my needs. And like, okay, well, I don't need that, but he needs that. So, okay, so if I got like my anxieties and my insecurities about it, but then it's like, okay, Mika, you need, well, I need such and such. I'm like, okay, so now I have to, okay, listen to what she's saying. This is what she needs. And
And
so
support it.
support it. Like, okay, she needs
Or
these things.
find a way to support
Right.
it.
Like, okay, so, and this is different than what I would, need per se. And so it's that balance, that give and take on both sides and really hearing each other. But I do the number one thing that will keep a relationship strong and growing and getting to the next level is true honesty.
Whew.
And it's not easy.
Whew.
I'm still, like I said, still learning how to do that.
Do you think men struggle with that more than women?
Right. The fear of judgment, fear of letting people down, fear of hurting. I mean, it's all different reasons why they do it and being
Which is
deceived.
so interesting because I feel like society has given men more of a pass when it comes to, I feel like women are judged a bit more.
Hmm.
So it's interesting to hear you say that. Do you think men put that on themselves or is it men's doing? I don't know.
It's a combination. I think it is. I think it's a combination of fear that they're going to upset their wife's feelings or the case is, and sometimes their wives or whatever has expressed like, hey, I don't like this or I want this, blah, blah, blah. But, that's their own dynamic to try to talk about and work out, and then communicate with each other and then come to that honesty talk like, hey, I need these things in my life and this, well, I need these things in my life and learning how to come to that, help both receive these, the things that they need in life.
From
And
each other.
support each other in it, because it's and as you go through life, those needs and wants change. And so they may have needed wanted this back in the day, but now they don't need and want that anymore. Now they need and want something different. And that's what I found even as I've gotten older is the more need for true, and where it's like, the things that when you were younger you just needed a hot chick, right? I mean, that's all it took to get everything going. And then
Right.
as you gotten older, it's like, no, I need way more than that. I need the feeling of love, and the feeling of um, the real good conversations and the eye contact, and it's like there's so much more now that I need. So it's, yeah, my needs have they continually evolve, they change.
Intimacy, like true connection and intimacy,
And as men usually like,
vulnerability.
right, and men
I
when they're
think
younger,
men crave vulnerability.
absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Well, they
Like,
expect always. It's kind of like expectations. That's why women are always been seen, or the stereotype is they are more vulnerable, right? They're more emotional, more vulnerable, blah blah. So men are drawn to that for sure. But then with their buddies, the instant you show emotion or vulnerability, you're called all kinds of names, and you bitch, you pussy,
yeah, yeah.
you all these things. You're like, you're crying, you're care about these things. Oh, you're so whack. Oh, you're drawn to this one. Oh, you're pussy. What you're so the men. All men want those things, but then they just give shit each other about it the whole time. That you're not supposed to have that, right? You're not supposed to be vulnerable and emotional. But you're with a woman for a reason, because they can, and they're able to do that. And so there is some, not jealousy, but there is some sort of appreciation or some sort of admiration that women can do those things and be considered, that's fine. But if men, if you do that, sometimes it is.
I don't know. Like sometimes it's she's emotional. She's emotional. Like it's sometimes it's seen as a negative thing to have emotions, even though we're all human and we feel. I want to thank you for being my partner.
Thank you for being my life partner as well, and my love.
This isn't just for life. Like I'm gonna haunt you forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Like it's the thing.
I hope so. Looking forward to it.
Same, same. We've been through so much, and I couldn't imagine going through any of this with anyone else. You're a wonderful father. You are a wonderful husband. You're a girl dad. Oh my gosh. Do you think you'd be different if you had sons?
Oh,
Do
it
you
would
think
change.
your daughters have taught you more vulnerability than like if you had sons?
Oh, absolutely. It's a completely different dynamic for sure.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
that's why it's a weird thing to say, but when we were trying for for the third time to have a baby, and I didn't want to know the sex of it, and trying to, and just in a sense, it was like in the back, it was weird. It's like kind of hoping for a boy, but at the same time, it was like what a relief it would be to not, because that would change the dynamic so much, right? But at the same time, it's like, sure, you would learn from that experience. I get it. Like, yeah, there's something to learn from that experience for sure. That I don't have, nor do I. Like I said, I'm at peace with that. Like I don't. I'm completely at peace with that. But there is something to say that to learn from that too, of raising a son in this world, and trying to teach him to be a man in a different way that I was taught, by my father, and try to teach him a different way of how to treat women and how to move about, how to have ambition and drive. And it's like, well, you have all these hopes, but what if that person was completely opposite, right?
Yeah.
Now you're trying to learn a whole different, what you thought of, like, oh, this is how I would do my son. It's like, well, your son doesn't
I
care.
mean, I think you're doing that though. You're doing that with daughters.
Well, daughters, so I mean, be clear, you do kind of expect them to be different than you. You do.
I see what you're
You
saying.
expect them to have different
You
wants and needs, and
expect
you
them to be
expect them to be
different,
different.
so it's
You tell them,
already
like,
okay.
no, you got to play sports. No, you got to do this. No, you got to do school. Like, you have this
Right.
expectation that, no, this is who I am. You got to do the same things, right? I don't know. I think I would have that. I do. I think I would have that expectation that the son to be. Would I? I know I would learn to embrace who they. I get that, but I know there'd be a back in my mind like, I would love to go out and play sports. But daughters, I always just expected or counted that they would be different,
Different.
and
So
want
you
different
already knew that you were
for
going to
them.
have to work to
Yeah,
find deeper
right,
connections and
right. A way to connect.
similarities
But I
and
expected it. I really did.
yeah. 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 Well, that's a whole other conversation we'll save for another time. So I just want to ask you last question. What's one truth you used to whisper that you now say out loud?
I guess it always goes back to freaking religion, of course. The truth I whispered back then is whisper. I knew I really didn't believe it all deep down inside, and now I'm completely at peace with that. To say like,
Wow.
I just, yeah, I don't believe those things, and so I can, have that conversation with people, like I said, my dad or whoever, because it's like I feel comfortable and safe knowing, like completely at peace with that. That I don't believe those things anymore. I just don't. But like I said, so-called bucking the system. That's me whispering all along, like I don't know that I really believe or want to follow this. Right?
All those little actions were whispers.
And now I'm like, yeah, no.
Wow. Well, I'm happy for you. Good for you. I love you very much.
Thanks for allowing that platform for me to do that, to be myself, and really embrace it.
I love it. I'm happy you're free.
Free bird.
Love you. So thank you. I appreciate you. Yeah, tune in, like, and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. And in the meantime, stop whispering. Let's pop the hood and like get in there. Like, let's get to know each other. Medium to large all the time. All right. Bye. Thank you, Mark. Bye.